Well, hello, and happy March 1st. 7 years ago was just days after Schuyler had been transported to the ICU in Miami, Jackson Memorial, and only one of the really massive procedures had already taken place. They'd only managed to get in there and secure her fractured spine. They hadn't been able to touch the injuries to her brain at this point. And so as I look back, and I looked back over these past couple of weeks and really saw Sky and the milestones that she's making in her life and the joy and the exuberance that she's showing up with as we came back from Orlando. We had the opportunity, thanks to her amazing dance teachers, Troy and Diane. They made it possible for her to actually participate in the 5K of the Gasparilla. So she was out there on this, like, I don't know, wheelie. It's almost like an adult stroller. So they were able to do the walk, and she was out there, and the sense of power and joy that she had was absolutely amazing. And on top of it, her buoyancy kind of attracted the media because she was actually on ABC Action News, and it was such a validation for her. Such a feeling of, I am getting there. I am being recognized for just continuing to go, continuing to have that joie de vivre, married with that carpe diem. So what I wanted to share today was really three things that have become really obvious over the last week since we've gotten back from Orlando. And the first thing is, and this isn't just something that I see with Sky, it's something I've noticed in my own life, but it's a very, very much a recurring theme of the one-on-one, even highest level professionals that I'm working with, is that as we're seeking to become those bigger, bolder, more epic versions of ourselves, and as we're learning new skills, new ideas, new perspectives, as we're learning to let go of certain things, we get in this weird bias believing that the definition of success is kind of like this. If I'm really learning, if I'm really getting it, if I'm really destined to succeed, it needs to look like this. If it looks like this, I get frustrated with myself, right? I feel I'm not making progress. I might even feel like giving up, like it's useless. Like, oh gosh, there's something else that I've tried that just doesn't work. Well, what I'm going to invite you to entertain is the possibility that these dips aren't like this. It's not a sideways pursuit. It's like surfing the wave. Yes, you have the dips, but it's going forward always, because even the dips hold clues. They give you guidance, right? It's like Edison and his multiple light bulbs. It's even the law of sales. I had this incredible luncheon today with this wonderful woman I'm going to be working with, speaking to her team for a couple of events. And she's really a master sales manager. And she and I were kind of remarking how similar the realm of sales is with simply to the realm of who we are as human beings and how we process things and how we tend to behave, and the reality of life and progress as we move forward. And what she just said is, it's really interesting. There are all these kinds of wonderful books on sales, and yet it's basically the same. It comes down to math, and it comes down to having to get a certain number of no's in order to get the yes, having to be able to assess and pre-qualify and learn, get that data is it worth going down this path? And of course, when we don't have the experience, we don't have the wisdom, we can get some help from some mentors. We can also get some guidance from some anti-mentors. But ultimately, the more we discover, it's not down that path, the more we have the opportunity to say, there's that path again. I'm not going that way. I'm going this way, right? So the dips in the forward progress are still forward progress. In fact, they're really critical and really essential. And believe it or not, they can actually speed up our progress. So lesson number one, that especially you see with Schuyler, if you've been following some of her videos and her progress, you'll see, like when we were in Orlando on day one, she did this incredible sit to stand, which is the fancy word of saying she stood up from sitting down on a bench. And it was as if you and I were stand up. It looked so relaxed, so calm, so balanced, so quote unquote normal that it was shocking. And yet, as a few days later, her therapist introduced another sort of level to the challenge and wanted her to kind of sway a couple of times before and then stand up. And it made it very difficult. And if you had just seen that, you would have thought that maybe she was progressing the wrong way. She was slipping backwards. And that's just the way it works. That is normal. So as whatever it is that you're pursuing, realize that the iteration is part of what will ultimately make you really, really solid. So don't fear the little dips in the step forward, and don't feel like it's you. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, this is hard. Right? This is normal. This is the flow. This is what it looks like. This is the recipe. This is when you've added the chocolate and you've added the flour. And now the instructions are to mix it up, right? Put it in the oven. You have to wait. It has to cook, right? So number one, don't assume that the dips in the progress are any less part of the progress. And certainly don't beat yourself up over that. Number two, another kind of theme that I've been hearing is, looking at some of the big influencers, more and more people are doing amazing things with personal development, and they're really out there, and it's visible and it's uplifting, it's inspiring. And yet I keep hearing a little bit from especially some of my clients and other people who comment, if I had millions of dollars and I could afford to take these days off and to have my meals covered or to have this covered, if I could afford the time to just meditate all morning and take 2 or 3 or 4 hours and not have these crazy people around me, I could be enlightened and calm and all together, that epic version of myself too. And I just want to, again, reiterate that, yes, I mean, it's great. I really believe that a lot of their success is thanks to these years that you don't see, where they really are developing those are the light bulbs that for them didn't light up. But you don't have to be an influencer that has millions of followers and that has all kinds of best-selling books. You don't have to have millions of dollars. You don't have to have any of that. You can be a normal human being, a busy professional, a single mom like I was, who was struggling financially when the boulder hit. You don't have to be anyone other than you. Your circumstances are not what define how epic you are. And epic is not how many times you meditate during the day. Yes, meditation is wonderful, and if you can fit that in, fantastic. I love it. I work really deliberately to make sure that I can find those times for that, but it goes deeper. It's not just coping that you're going for. It's the root of why do you need to cope, right? How can you actually deliberately take ownership of the possibility that when you become the sovereign of your own mind, then your mind starts becoming your superpower, not your kryptonite that you need to cope with, right? And certainly managing the uncontrollable out there doesn't have to be something that you take responsibility for. That's not going to impact your ability to really find that epic version of yourself, even when you're not even sure that that exists. So regardless of what you're facing right now, who you are, how successful you feel that you are, that epicness is there. And it is being willing to have the tenacity, the determination, and the confidence, the belief, even when you don't have anything really to stick that flag into, you don't have real evidence from your perspective that any epic part of me exists. I had zero confidence that there was anything epic about me when that boulder fell. And yet I knew that the last thing that I could afford to do was allow that boulder to take whatever power I might have, and that I had to find and cultivate something as close as that epic version of me, whatever that looks like to be, whatever was available to me at the time, in order to really be there, not just for my daughter, but actually for my life, what I was going to bring in my life to the world. So number 2 is, don't assume that you have to be some celebrity, something larger than life, in order to find that epic version of you. And then the final thing, again, that I will share is that the joy is in being you, allowing yourself to be that crazy, quirky, playful version who has some pretty intense stories, who might even have some quote unquote flaws, right? Things that you're expanding on and things that you're working on. And I mean, how boring would it be if we were completely there? There were no more destinies to aspire to, right? Enjoy this as part of the fun, part of the play, part of the process, and explore what makes you giggle, what makes you feel fun. When I was a little girl, I used to love dressing up. My little girls used to play dress up, right? And I discovered that I loved artisans' craft work. And so years and years ago, I found these, right? And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could be so bold to wear them. I mean, people would really notice them. And what kind of a statement would that make about me? And so I wore them for a while. And then I got into a relationship, and my boyfriend at the time was not a fan. He just felt that they were crazy, right? So at that point, because of where I was and where my self-worth wasn't, I allowed him to convince me. So I tucked them away until finally, after the boulder, I found them again. And I was like, why am I not wearing them? I love them. They are an extension of my joy and creativity, my joy and art. And well, now I actually have 2 of them. And on top of that, I even have, are you ready? I even have these crazy, goofy, posh, playful things, right? Because sometimes it's just fun just to live and not worry about looking silly or being judged by other people. It is by giving yourself permission to be you. Guess what? You give other people permission to be them as well. So all kinds of amazing things in this journey here for us. I hope that maybe this has been of value to you, and that you're out there doing some incredible, epic, wild, and wonderful things yourself. So I'm learning how to have fun with this little video journal. I promise they will get a little bit shorter because I'll do them more frequently as I get more and more, yes, courage, being totally vulnerable and authentic here, to really get out there. And if you enjoy them, if you want to hear more, please go ahead and subscribe and share with me what you like. And let's build this journey together, because this is going to be my epic year, Schuyler's epic year, your epic year, and I want to do this together. So one last epic booyah, and I will see you in the next one. All right. Ta-ta for now.